Welcome back to the Reset, episode 71 with me, Sean Tucker. What does it mean to be truly balanced? Balance is probably a subjective term. What I mean by that is some people will say, look, you can't have balance. Look, you can't have this work-life balance. Well, to those people, I say, yes, you can. And here's why. If you're on a seesaw, right? And if you see the screen, you can see I've got my water bottle here, right? If you're on a seesaw and someone sits here, right, it's going to tip, which means how do we balance that? Well, we've got to go on the other side and balance it out. What happens if most of the weight comes to this side? Well, to balance it, you've got to sit a little bit further on the other side. So is everything always perfectly in balance? Yes. Yes, it is. Is it the way you want it to be balanced? No. No, it's not. And this is what I mean by balance is always, but your interpretation of what balance means is the limiting factor. Because for those who are probably working a corporate job or, they're working 17,000 hours a week, right, which is most entrepreneurs these days, or they're working, 180-hour weeks, even though there's only 168 hours in a week. To those people, I say, if you really want balance, everything comes with a cost, right? I think you can probably agree to that. Everything has consequence to every action that you take. And so where there's balance, it just means that there is an equation. There is something happening. Where things get out of balance is when there is no equation. There is no action. There's no consequence, right? But the thing is, it doesn't matter if it's thought, if it's feeling, if it's actual movement, everything has a consequence, which means everything is actually perfectly balanced as it is. And hear me out, because what's happening in different parts of the world, there's great catastrophes, there's great, tragedies happening every single day and every single moment. Everything that's happening is absolutely perfect. It's as it's meant to happen. These are the universal laws. Where you experience good, equally you will experience bad. And you might think, oh, this guy is going on this woo-woo tangent. Well, yes and no. You can look down the scientific angle, or you can look down the more spiritual energy angle. They're both trying to tell the same story. One is just telling it in a language that you don't understand. The other one is telling it in language that maybe you can grasp. That's all. One is interpreting what's happening with your eyes closed. The other one is interpreting what's happening with your eyes wide open. That's really, that's the only difference. And so I guess to make this really tangible for you right now, I'm looking at balance. If you have a skin issue, right? If you have eczema on your hands or on your feet or on your face even, this is an expression of something that's happening internally for you. Something that might be thrown a little out of balance. Because momentarily, that action is going to move to some sort of imbalance. The consequence is going to move the needle somewhere, right? And it's only when you rest and recover. This is really the duality of life. Resting and recovering versus Doing and taking action, revving up, moving forward and moving backwards. Not in the literal sense, but in the recovery sense. Putting out to get back. This is the universal law that I'm talking about. It is inevitable. It's happening now. It's happening only now. That is the truth. That is what's happening. It's only what we're interpreting in our mind is the limiting factor. This thing loves to cling on to things, and it also loves to provide certainty where there is no certainty. Certainty just means that it's perceiving something will happen. Certainty in a negative sense, certainty in a positive sense. If I follow the plan, this is what I'll get. In your life, have you ever seen anything go 100% the way you want it? Ever? Probably not, right? Having the plan that goes 100% to plan is a fallacy. It's not possible. And this is where science can get it quite wrong. Because when you do scientific studies and you're looking at controlling the environment, controlling the variables, well, one, no two DNAs are the same. No two people are the same. Even if they had the same DNA, it doesn't mean that they're going to be the same. The response is going to be different. And so if you put these people or things, animals or whatever into controlled environments, can you expect the same outcome? This is really the scientific principles of being able to prove a theory, test a theory. But it only comes back to your level of awareness, your level of perception, and your subjective nature to see how far you can actually push that. Because was it the same outcome or was it roughly in the same direction? If we do A and B and C, does it mean we're going to get to D? No, not always. There are some things that can be shown. If you act this way and behave this way, it will lead to this. There's tendencies that can be explained through that lens, but actual outcomes, actual results are never going to be like that. Because there's infinite numbers of inputs that are going to affect that output. And this is where, I guess, spiritual or energy sciences really fit in. Because you can't explain the unexplainable. You can try. And this is what, faith-written books, all faiths are based on, really. All religions are based on. Trying to explain something. And, listening to these philosophical kind of debates or programs or books or whatever, there's a difference between knowing and actually experiencing. Can you know what enlightenment is? Or can you only experience it? You can have some ideas about it, but until you actually experience it, can you ever be enlightened? I'm going to leave you on that. So, yeah, if you found value in today's episode and you want more content like this, where I just go on different tangents and maybe give some philosophical kind of expressions of what I'm thinking about or what's coming out through me, yeah, I'd love to know that. If it's helpful and if it's been of value, just share it with one person. And if you want more of it, let me know because, yeah, like, share, and make sure this goes out there to the right people. Also, don't forget to subscribe to this podcast because it allows me to see who's really following, and I can start creating content that will speak exactly to you and help you on your journey. Thanks for tuning in. I look forward to seeing you in tomorrow's episode.